I'm Mark, I'm a Metropolitan Police Officer with the Genetic Surveillance Unit. I have been for 5 years. I was a regular officer, but I much prefer doing this. My job involves, I look after the police beehives, the apiaries. We have 43 in all, covering South London and a little bit of Kent. So I go and check on them once a month and collect the pollen which they collect and then take it back for analysis. It's a bit cold for the bees at the moment, so they're all in hibernation, but we still need to keep the hives checked on. Also check that the hives haven't been tampered with in any way. So just checking really that everything's okay, ready for them.
Why would you want to collect pollen?
We collect pollen just to analyse it because the bees will pick up the pollen from other plants which are growing in people's gardens or houses. We then analyse that to see if that has been genetically engineered in any way or modified, so we can keep a check on really what people are growing, and these trace elements that the bees bring back help us to do that.
How might it become a police matter if people are growing genetically modified plants?
Yeah, it would become a police matter if they're genetically modifying plants. Say, for example, for the infringement of intellectual properties, cultivating illegal substances, where it can be deemed as malicious, and the cross-pollination of these items into foodstuffs, for example, can cost millions and millions of pounds.
How do you know where pollen has come from?
Well, what happens really is that when the bee has been foraging about and then returns back to the hive, if the bee has been successful in attaining pollen, what will happen is that the bee will do what we call a waggle dance. Now the hive will pick this up because there's a video camera in each hive, and then what we're able to do is to decode that to tell us where the location of the pollen is. We use bees because they're a natural resource. We don't have the time or money to use human beings, and of course bees can go anywhere they want. They roam about, so they can go through windows, into gardens quite freely, houses, and they don't need warrants, whereas we would, and for the time for us to gain a warrant of entry takes a lot of time, a lot of bureaucracy, so that the time that's saved through that and the money, we can put police on the streets where they need to be seen. The view from up here is absolutely fantastic. It's one of the perks of the job, I like to call it. And the other thing is that the bees don't talk back.
Right, so I mean, it sounds like genetically modified crops are quite dangerous. Are you against them, or?
I'm not against genetically modified crops as long as it's used for the greater good. We now have more mouths to feed in the world due to an ever-growing population, and anti-aging therapies and climate change. So as long as it's used for the greater good but not used for a malicious or illicit nature,